Alright, this is it, the comparison you have been waiting for. To my left, we have a brand new Ferrari F8 Tributo, and then to my right, we have the Corvette that the team designed based off of Ferrari, that being a 458. We're gonna find out how the all-new Z06 compares to the mid-engine V8 powered Ferrari, the last one you can really buy right now before all the new Ferraris go to a 6-cylinder or the hybrids that you see. And horsepower-wise, you have 670 horsepower, all natural aspirated versus 710. So I'd say they're pretty close to each other based off the power output alone. All right, again, to my left, we have the brand new Corvette Z06 with all the options you can really get for the money, that being the Z07 aerodynamic and then track package with the upgrade for the carbon fiber wheels. One interesting point to talk about is that the carbon fiber wheels on the Z06 itself is about $11,000 versus, I believe, $30,000 for the F8 Tributo. The all-new Z06 does have over 700 pounds of downforce at 180 miles an hour, so the most downforce ever for a Corvette and the least amount of drag, less drag than a ZR1. So for grip, I would say it looks like the Z06 with the Z07 package will outperform the F8, but we're gonna find out, especially on the racetrack. Altogether with the Z06, you have the 3.5 wider body all around, 3.5 inches that is, then 345 rubber out back on 21-inch wheels. These carbon ceramic brakes are just massive. This car is definitely not compromised from my talks with the engineers. They definitely went all out to make the fastest natural aspirated Corvette money can buy. This engine was designed based off a 458. They actually bought a 458, took it apart, and then they actually bought a 488 GTB right after. Though the Chevy team made it sound like they preferred the 458 driving experience over it because of how intoxicating the natural aspirated feeling was. So this is the evolution from the V8 powered natural aspirated Ferrari, whereas you can't get it in a Ferrari anymore. This kind of brings the torch forward and is your last alternative. I think this is the final year for the Tributo, and it is, again, 710 horsepower. This vehicle drives based off the 48 Pista. The Pista was such a legendary version of the 48 platform because of the engine itself and how rough and just raw it made the entire experience for the racetrack. It felt uncompromised driving it. So what the team decided to do was that let's use the formula that worked for the Pista and make more of a road-going variant. The S-duct up front is straight from the 48 Pista, so you're getting all the extra front-end downforce, but it's blended in much more with the body, versus Chevy's formula of, yeah, let's just make it an all-American racer with massive dive planes up front, doing the same effect, basically, as this S-duct to push the front end down at high speed. Even when it comes to the spoiler out back, this huge carbon fiber spoiler, it's in your face, isn't it? Versus when you come to the F8, it's all blended very sleek and down low, where they're using actually 3 different vanes to channel the air through to give you more rear end downforce while minimizing drag. With Ferrari's anti-turbo lag sensors, they really do a good job trying to minimize the turbo lag that you will get, though it will not feel as linear probably as the Z06. The sound is definitely going to be different, whereas maybe the Corvette might sound more like a Ferrari than the Ferrari. Coming down to tires and brake compounds, both have carbon ceramic brakes. There's definitely a disadvantage here with the tires for Justin's F8 because he has a P0s, the non-Trofeo R's, so these are summer performance tires, though they are not as extreme by any margin as the Cup 2Rs. These are the same tires that Porsche uses in AMG for their Nürburgring lap records. And for a contact patch, the Z06 has the widest contact patch of any mid-engine supercar I've seen on the market, except for, I think, the Aventador SVJ, because you have 2 75s up front versus, I believe, the 2 245s on the F8. Then the F8 has 305s out back versus the massive 345 rubber. Everything with the Z06 is definitely go big or go home. The massive wheels, the massive carbon ceramics, they are definitely bigger front and back than the Ferraris. Actually, it looks like Justin's car and mine both have yellow accents for the brakes, and then even for the interior, right? Opening up, I have all the yellow striping and stitching to finish off the red and yellow custom setup that we have, plus all the extra carbon fiber. Stepping over a massive carbon fiber side skirt. The entire interior quality with the Alcantara and the yellow stitching everywhere, it feels like a $200,000 car. It definitely feels special in here, and I think Chevy has done a great job engineering a platform that can be so customizable. Every single one that you see can be light years different. Let me go ahead and start it up for us. 8,600 RPM redline for the new Z06 Corvette. In park, you can't really rev it too far. It limits you right around 3,000 RPM. If you click and hold both carbon fiber paddle shifters though, it'll actually let you rev to a redline. Does this sound like an American Ferrari? Let's find out. Let's go ahead and hop inside the Ferrari F8 and check out his amazing yellow stitched interior. I'll be honest, the yellow stitch is actually almost the same color, but it looks a bit lighter. I absolutely love these Daytona racing bucket seats that are in carbon fiber, the backing of it, yellow stitched lining with individual cutouts to give you that Daytona racing vibe for sure. The yellow Ferrari badge. Let's carefully get inside because these cars are very expensive. I am honestly such a big fan of the Ferrari F8. This interior with the huge extended carbon fiber paddle shifters, which I love. What really sets them apart is that the steering wheel on the Ferrari is really focused on driving. Versus the Corvette, you can actually change your driver mode right here based off the steering wheel. You can tell how the entire car is minimalistic and is focused on just the driving experience. No center screen, none of that extra technology, though you can get an optional passenger LCD display to show off what's going on while you're driving. I have to say, I really do like the yellow everywhere, and I think this is why I got the red and yellow combo for my Z06, because I thought the car could pull it off, and it definitely did. Out back, you can see the 3.9 liter V8 that's twin turbocharged versus a much bigger 5.5 liter V8 that you can also see from inside the cabin of the Z06. Anyways, let me go and start up the Ferrari. Let's get a good vibe for how this thing sounds with the twin turbos, because there are some comments out there saying how with the new turbo systems, it takes out some of the soul of the driving experience and the noises that you would usually get with a 458 or a 458 Speciale. Let's test this out. Let's go ahead and take it out and see how it drives and hop inside the Z06 to wrap up this video. We're gonna find out how they truthfully compare, and then at the very end, well, you're gonna see a very surprise and fun ending, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And now let's meet the owner of the Ferrari F8, that being Justin, right in front of me. How you doing, man?
What's going on, man?
Great to see ya.
See you too.
I love the spec of this car. The blue, what is it called? That blue metallic?
Yeah, this is blue Corsa. Wow. And it was a $12,000 or $13,000 option. I really wanted something different, not to have my first Ferrari being red.
What do you think, man?
I love your car. It was a showstopper today. I mean, you had at least 100 people over the course of 30 minutes just coming up to you, talking about it, looking at it, and you did a really, really good job with all of the carbon. The carbon wheels was definitely a showstopper, and I'm super excited to hear and feel what this thing is all about. The opportunity came where I was able to order and customize my own F8 new, and I did take that option, but a piece of me still really wants the naturally aspirated V8 out of the 458 platform.
This should be a very interesting day. You have about 40 more horsepower, right, with the turbos. You have 100 more pound-feet of torque at, I think it's 568.
I trust you.
You don't know the specs of your own car?
710 horses, all I forgot the torque specs.
This is a $300,000+ car.
It was.
Well, this has got 460 pound-feet of torque, so a little bit less torque and power, but we have more sticky tires, bigger contact patch, I think more downforce, but it's gonna be interesting getting a feel for how this handles with the power delivery versus the twin turbo nature of the F8. So, do you mind if we take it out for a spin?
Let's do it.
Isn't it interesting seeing the design language for Ferraris? Because you have a lot of curvy lines all throughout, not as harsh with the angles as like Lamborghini. This has got a lot of harsh angles with these huge dive planes in the spoiler. I even have underbody aero side strakes.
So do I.
Oh, no way.
Oh, they're under there. I remember even knowing because I hit a pine cone and it made a noise and I looked down there and I have the same arrow.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
We have the same underbody arrow. So I wonder where Chevy got the idea from. Was it from your team?
Perhaps Ferrari.
Now, is that how you properly pronounce the name Tributo?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna go with the unofficial approval of F8 Tributo.
All right, here we go, starting up the F8. It'll be fun. Let us know in the comment section how many times I've said F8 today in this video. Let me buckle up. So you didn't get the yellow seatbelts as well.
You know what, that's there's two things I would have done differently on this car, and one of them would have been the yellow seatbelts in the car.
Now, what's your favorite mode to drive in?
So the first thing I do when I get in this car is I always push auto. So the car defaults to automatic. Now it's gonna be a manual paddle only. Okay. I also push this button, which is the auto start stop. I turn that off. And depending on how I'm feeling that day, I'll keep it in race or CT off. CT off definitely has a more aggressive engagement in the transmission, but it does allow the rear end to slip out a little bit. So usually if I'm just putzing around or I want to be, not as careful, I'll just do race. I would say race is a good starting point.
Yeah, it's interesting how wide the tires are in the Corvette, because even for the F8, I think when the tires get warm, it does a great job putting down power. So it's curious to, why the Corvette tires are just so wide out back. It's a huge difference, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm 305 in the rear, which is, it's a good chunk of rubber, but it's definitely not as large as a Corvette Z06, surprisingly.
Yeah, this thing is so smooth, man. It really is. I love the paint job that you chose for it. It really is special.
Yeah, it pops. A lot of people have come to me and they've whispered in my ear, I'm not kidding you, multiple times.
Oh my gosh.
Punch it. And the Gallardo has an exhaust on it, and I love that V10 sound. This is nice to have because when I take out a car, I kind of want to be a little bit more incognito, if you will.
I understand.
As much as you can be incognito in a Ferrari, but I like how it is a very tame sound.
It is tame. I gotta say one thing, Ferrari does such a great job with the steering. It feels a lot lighter than the steering in the Corvette for sure. It feels so lively, and the way they've tuned the engine with the turbos, I mean, you don't feel much turbo lag at all. There's some delay there. You can't really delete all of it, but it doesn't hinder the experience, does it?
No, and actually there's got a turbo efficiency gauge on the right. There's a little turn knob on the left, and you can see the turbo efficiency, and it'll show you where your boost is per the RPM, what it'll be, 90% or 100% PSI at a specific RPM. So they tried to, from my understanding, they tried to make this car feel like a naturally aspirated car.
It's a unique twin turbocharged experience where I would say some people might not notice if there's any lag there. However, when the car gets going and the turbos are definitely spooled up, the thrust, I mean, it reminds me a bit of the 720s with the McLarens. And that's what this car really was the answer to, right? The 720 came out, Ferrari's like, okay, the 458, we simply can't do it anymore with this car. We got to compete against these 700 plus horsepower monsters from other companies, and that's what they've done. Let's get a feel for the car in the corners. So many noises going on here. I actually love the turbo noises in these cars. How about you?
I like it a lot. There's actually this, I don't know the terminology, but there's this pipe that goes right behind your head.
Really?
That is like a hose that enhances the sound from the engine.
Oh, so you have piped in exhaust noise.
I think so.
I know some people don't really like that kind of stuff, but hey, if it enhances the experience, why not?
love that.
It's so smooth. The power comes on so smoothly. Oh my gosh. How does it feel in the passenger seat?
Well, I had my girlfriend drive me in it. She didn't do that. This is the first time I've had somebody actually get on it, and I want you to keep doing it because I like it, and it feels way faster in the passenger seat than when I'm driving, for sure.
The people who say don't buy an F8 because it's got turbos, or don't buy a 488 because it's got turbos, and I own a 458 Italia and I have the last of the NA Ferraris, this is the best they'll ever make it. I disagree, because the performance they're getting out of it, like giving power right now, low RPM, the power delivery is beyond smooth. You don't feel a curve. It feels like a driver's car. And look at that, a CA Corvette. He had to pass us, right? I wonder if he knows what's over there.
Maybe, or maybe he's trying to prove a point.
Nice car. Okay, Justin, are you ready?
I'm ready.
For the mid-engine Corvette experience, the most powerful, naturally aspirated V8.
Let her rip.
It's nice.
That's.
It's nice. Alrighty, I'll put us in a track mode for the stiffest suspension. Opens up the exhaust valves.
Okay. Wow.
It's different.
It sounds good. I can feel the vibration from the engine already. I don't think I felt that in
Get
my
ready
car.
for high RPM, so let's do this.
In a Aventador way, like this.
That's
center
exactly
console.
what I said. Yeah, that's what I thought. I think it's very Aventador-ish.
Yeah.
Looking right.
It's electric steering. Look at all these things you get in this car.
Alrighty, I've put the... Want your cooled AC seat on?
Oh yes, I would
Let's
love
do that.
my butt to be cold.
Yeah, let's do that in a
Thank you.
mid-engine car.
What is the temperature outside? 85 degrees.
You can hear the fans in the seat. Do you feel it?
I feel it.
Cooling down. We're cooling down. Let's get the windows down. This car, we need the windows down.
And that's a camera right there.
Yep, it's an HD camera, and I can zoom in and out and shift it around. Or I can use the manual camera. Or you can actually turn your head and see the engine. So this right here, by the way, you can record your track sessions.
Wow.
So that's a pretty fun little standard feature for the Z06. When you're driving it, right around 4,000 RPM, you'll hear the exhaust change pitch. And you'll really notice it once they start pulling out. Hear that, how it's changing? And the backfire?
It's impressive so far. Yeah, the F8 feels refined. This feels a little bit more raw initially.
You can hear it echo?
Yeah. Wow.
What are your first thoughts?
The shifting is impressive. You don't really feel it. It's just, it hits red line and you're already shifting and it's in the next gear. You don't feel a transition. Wow.
So it killed power a little bit right there because the tires are cold. However, they warm up pretty quick.
So the suspension feels tighter. I can't speak on the steering and nimbleness, but it definitely feels a little bit more aggressive in terms of how bouncy and firm it is.
Right away, driving both cars back to back. This definitely, you feel more of the vibrations going to red line, 8,600. It's definitely a louder experience with the windows going down. The brakes feel neck and neck. I think you can tell this has got more downforce. It'll be interesting to find out what lap times are going to be like. However, the power band, it's got a little bit less power, but I think the torque comes on very strong, doesn't it?
It does. It's surprising for being a high revving V8. You would assume that it would be a little bit more of a build-up, similar to a E92 M3 that I used to have. But it's got the torque. It's got the torque of a good old-fashioned American muscle, but it also revs up to almost 9,000 RPM. I didn't know what to go into it thinking, but no, it's not something I could have assumed or predicted. I think the lower end is more than I thought it would be based off your RPM.
This is 5.
It's impressive. It's instant.
And the gear changes, watch.
It's impressive. I see that a lot.
I think the Ferrari has a bit more on the long end when it's accelerating. It keeps pulling a tad more. I think top speed-wise, the F8 will win, especially like the half mile. Though I think that the handling with these two cars, they feel very similar. This, I feel like there's more mechanical grip though with the bigger tires all around. The suspension feels more stiff, right? You can feel more of the bumps driving on the road being in the race setting, the track mode. I do think though that this car, if it was turboed, it would be even crazier, wouldn't it?
Well, that's the thing, you know, of course it'll be crazier with turbos for up top, but at the same time, there's this visceral experience that you get out of a high revving V8 and that sound that you almost want a second car that's fast and turbocharged, and then you want this to be the raw, naturally aspirated, nothing else, that's it.
I think you nailed it. I think that's what this car really has going for it. The visceral driving experience of all the RPM, of being able to rev like that, with a flat plane crank V8, because I would have loved to see Ferrari continue down this path of the NA big V8s. I think they're carrying the torch pretty well. This is the last of an era, and all motor, the cooling on track, you're probably not gonna have any heat soak with it. It feels like a proper track car. I don't know if I would really daily this too much because of how aggressive it can be, even with these tires. You'll hear the rocks be, flown up, but the grip that you get with it, you won't find the limit of. This, I believe, will be faster in the corners in the F8. The F8 probably will have more thrust on a top speed straight away, if I were to compare them back to back. This feels like a $200,000 car to me. It feels like an exotic car.
It is.
So you wouldn't mess with the exhaust?
No, I wouldn't. Honestly.
All right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
You're one of the first ever people to drive a Z06.
I don't know what I did to deserve that.
I don't know what, but I think you gave me the keys to your Ferrari, so that does the job. Drive. So seating position pretty good?
Yeah, it's tight. Bolsters are really snug. So it definitely has a more raw experience with it already. I mean, it's interesting because it definitely doesn't have the same power curve as the F8. It doesn't have the same audio that's coming out of it. This is definitely a very loud experience just from a factory perspective that I still haven't truly understood it yet. So I'm going to punch it a couple times so I can kind of feel exactly what's going on in the back.
Is that fourth gear?
Fourth or fifth. What I like about this car is that it sounds so good and it pulls. And the brake feel, it's very nice. So, it was an incredible experience. I have a naturally aspirated V10 in a Gallardo, and I understand, the difference between a mid-engine twin-turbo V8 versus a naturally aspirated high-revving V8. totally different experience, but it does have a lot of similarities. I do think that even though they have used the 458 as the heart around the engineering, if I'm understanding that correctly, it's got the sound, it's got the red line, it's got the dual clutch insanity shifts.
Yeah.
It's in its own league, but I think that they also had their eyes set either directly or indirectly against the Huracan, against the GT3 and GT3 RSs. It's got
those
a lot
are all
of those
benchmarked
characters that have kind of incorporated in this vehicle. And in the interior, it kind of reminds me of an Aventador with that center bridge and all
I would agree.
all the buttons, but it is an incredible experience, and I think it checks a lot of the boxes.
This has got the edge with the grip and the downforce, the aero, but this has just got the thrust again. And both driving experiences, I feel like the whole car wraps around you as a driver. It's not too intimidating to drive. Here's what I like. I like the way your car accelerates. I love the looks of it. I don't like how it's $180,000 more, I think, than my car. What was it, $350,000?
Just under 350.
This was 185. So that is a lot more money. However, you are getting a Ferrari, and these hold their values very well. It's not just about having the car. The experience is right up there with it, with the price point. It does sound good. I like the sound of the turbos.
What I dislike about the F8 is it's not too significant for me to point it out. It would just be little things, you know, getting in and out. It's a little difficult. Like the door doesn't open that wide, so my foot always catches the door getting in and out, leaving scuff marks. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
It feels a little delicate. Sometimes I feel like if you hit a bump too hard, something's gonna just, you know, it just knocks something off. But otherwise, it feels fairly drivable, fairly bulletproof. I like the idea that you can get in, you could daily drive it. It is a more comfortable car, I would say, than the Z06. It just felt a little bit more refined. And the Z06, what I liked about it is that it had the raw, visceral feel that you would perhaps get out of a naturally aspirated Ferrari, but even more, maybe even like a Speciale. This F8, I don't know, would be a direct comparison, because this is a refined, very luxurious, but a ton of performance incorporated into it, where you could technically daily it all the time. From what I drove on the Z06, it felt like you could potentially drive it daily. However, it felt so aggressive that perhaps you wouldn't want to.
Okay, so those are my complaints. My complaints with the Z06, those tires, they shoot up so many rocks. If they're cold, they do not hook, which you'd expect with sticky R compound tires, right? Also, the next thing is, I would actually love for a stripped out setup like your car, where even though having a fully electronic adjustable steering wheel and then a heated steering wheel, all these cool amenities, that's awesome, but I do love experiences where it gets even more focused on just being all about the raw driving experience. It can be a bit, you could call it compromised in the sense that it checks all the boxes. I do like cars that can be a bit more focused where you're trading something off. However, that's not something that most people agree with. That's just my personal feeling that I would like to see in a future model. More stripped out, even more racy. I think that makes sense. In summary, there's 1,000 good things to say, and we barely could come up with 2 to 3 negatives to say, which these negatives really don't apply, I don't think, to your buying decision too much. It's just our personal thoughts. All together, let us know in the comment section down below, what do you think? To wrap up this video, you as a Ferrari owner, and you have a lot of experience with Ferraris, would you consider buying the Z06 alongside one of these special Italian Ferraris?
The short answer is yes. Would I get it in a replacement to a Ferrari, and if it was my only either or? No, I still think I would have my eyes set for the Ferrari as a pinnacle sports exotic car. However, if I was in the market for a 458 Speciale and I already had the F8, I think I would get this over getting the 458 if I kept the F8. So the answer is yes. If I could have an allocation and spec one out myself like I did this, I would absolutely order the new Z06. Just like you did.
Anyways, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button to help us out, and subscribe for much more great content coming out your way. I'll see all of you in the next episode.